The gentleman in the back says to me, "Would you mind sticking around? I'm the next speaker."
Who is Laurence Haughton? I can promise you this. When he's up there and you're in the audience, you want to listen. He gets rolling and the passion just spills out. The conviction. Palpable authenticity.
I heard the 4 most powerful words I had ever heard. He said, "You have to have a strategy. You have to have a strategy to outmaneuver the cave people." Well, the light went on. The penny dropped. And I said, I can imagine this. You got these knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing Neanderthals just grunting and groaning every time you're trying to get something done, and it's impossible to break through. And he said, "Larry, you listen, but you do not hear." Because he said, cave is not a cave person. We're not talking about prehistoric Neanderthals. It isn't people who have been there and are lifers, and there's no knuckle dragging, mouth breathing. You can't spot them in a crowd. He said CAVE is an acronym. CAVE stands for the Citizens Against Virtually Everything.
He's always going to give you something. That's the integrity. He thinks he owes you, as far as I can tell. That said, however, what he gives you is probably not going to be what you expected. His originality is striking.
This is Lynn Heitman. You can't tell it from the picture there, but she started off as a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. She then got her master's in business. She went to work for American Airlines. She went to work for American Airlines at a time where they said, you know what, we need an initiative to have better customer service. And they tapped her and several of her compatriots to come up with a better way to deliver higher levels of customer service at American Airlines, and she and her group did a brilliant job. What they came up with, I went through the entire thing with her, and it was fantastic. She went to the worst posting that they had, Boston Airport, where people hadn't talked to other people at different levels for 25 years. That was the worst, most cave-ish place in the American Airlines system. She went there to prove that it could work, found her 17 percenters, put a program together, made it work. People were talking to each other. The customer service levels were incredible. But Lynn Heitman ran into a third problem. It's the third step in the strategy. Lynn Heitman's problem that she ran into was this. As the word of the incredible turnaround of the Boston posting for American Airlines reached the organization, as it was headed back to Dallas where headquarters were, it went through an interim step of the regional super divisional vice presidents. And a couple of them realized that if this got back to Crandall, he was a tough customer. And you know what he was going to say? If she made it work, what have you guys been doing? So they hounded her, and they treated her poorly, and they made her quit. And she left American Airlines. And by the way, I don't know how many of you fly American Airlines. How's Lynn's program and the program of all those executives working right now? Is their customer service level #1? No. You know whose customer service level? It's the exact same service model that is used by another company. You know who it is? Southwest Airlines. She didn't take it from Southwest Airlines. It's just that they both reached the conclusion at the same time. But Southwest Airlines didn't fire the people that came up with the idea. I want to tell you a story. Okay? Let me tell you a story. It's the story of the scorpion and the fox. There was a scorpion walking along the bank of a river, and he wanted to get to the other side. And he saw a fox preparing to swim across. So he asked the fox, would you mind giving me a ride on your back across the river? And the fox said, hey, I'm a fox. That would be ridiculous. Because if I let you on my back, we get in the middle of the river, you sting me, then we drowned. The scorpion assured him and said, look, that doesn't make any sense, because if we did that, we'd both drown. So I'm not going to sting you. So the fox said, well, that makes sense. Let's do it. Scorpion on his back, gets in the water, starts to swim across, and middle of the river, the scorpion stings him. As he felt the venom beginning to work, his muscles freezing, and knowing he was going to die, he turned his head and he said to the scorpion, why'd you do that? Now you'll die too. And the scorpion said, I couldn't help myself. It's my nature. Let me start off by telling you a story. Can you see this guy in the bushes there? And his wife, that's Chris and Mari. Chris and Mari are in the garden shop nursery business. And I met him years ago in Hong Kong, along with his partner, Bill. And I met them, and we talked about this idea of being able to maintain momentum and this strategy that I'm going to share with you today. And he really liked it, and he knew it was going to work for him, and he went to go back and do it. But Bill, his partner, was more of a traditional nurseryman. I mean, he was even a bit of a cave person. You know, to Bill, nothing was going to work. You just had to, just grin and bear it. I mean, life was tough, and then you die. That's Bill. And Chris, as you can tell, is a madman. I mean, he's like a mad scientist. He goes into the thing, he creates hybrids, like a tree that you cannot kill. Now again, we have Mr. Grouchy, and we have Mr. Madman here. They were partners for about 15 years. We met, we talked about this thing, and guess what? They both decided there were irreconcilable differences. And Chris said, I got to get rid of this guy, Bill. It's just not going to work. We just don't see the world the same way. Now, have you ever wanted to get rid of somebody so bad that you'd do anything? You give them whatever. What do you want? Well, that's the way this was. Bill knew it, and Bill asked for the better locations, because they had 4, the newer facilities, and more customers. He got the beautiful package, the going-away kiss. He got the big deal. And Chris got the oldest location, the old nursery, and this new strategy to maintain his momentum. You see, in history, all great leaders have had a cause. A belief, a motive, or purpose that gives rise to action.
In a world of suffocating sameness, Haughton isn't.
And it causes people to persevere through enormous adversity. And it's happened over and over and over again in business organizations and social organizations throughout history, and we just close our eyes to it and don't realize it. We can put it together and make it work. This is the true joy in life. Having a cause. Being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. To be a force of nature. Instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. We have a tendency to think that everybody sees the world the way that we see it. We have a tendency to think that everybody sees the world the way that we see it. And here's a little secret for you. Remember I told you about 83% of all people? Who in the room is a glass half full kind of person? All right, because I'm a glass half empty kind of guy, too much. I try to stop, but it's... So I need my glass half full people. Let me ask you, glass half full person, if indeed 83% of all people are sitting on their hands, what does a glass half full person realize in that statistic? What do you see?
70% are willing to work.
Bingo!
He thinks, and not everybody does. So he's anything but the same.
How'd I do? How's the lift? Thank you very much.